Hey everyone, it's Blair here at Time Trades. Thanks for joining me this weekend. I want to start with the win or the best trade of last week. And what you're looking at is Pfizer in the screenshot that was tweeted out on Tuesday morning. And at that time, this is what we were seeing in Time Trades. We saw a pretty solid move up on Monday, but then we also saw some further increases later in the week. And this turned into a very successful trade. Let's take a look at how that completed here. Here's the tweet that was sent out on Tuesday morning at about 10 a.m. my time here on Mountain Time. So that's about noon Eastern. And price at that time was about 56. High of the week was about 61. And so that translates into about an 8% move when two standard deviation up move was about 6%. So that turned into a nice two standard deviation move here. And this just checked all the boxes really in terms of trading. Starting with price, it was above all of the anchored VWAPs. And if you're not familiar with my anchored VWAP setup, I like to anchor them to these gray lines in the time trade script. So direction definitely bullish. I also like to use the squeeze pro indicator as another price indicator. And on the forecast side of things, Time Trades had those two standard deviation up moves forecast, which was also very supportive. And we had just entered into a green period. Now, green periods don't necessarily mean, moving up all the time or moving down all the time, but just from visual inspection, what I tend to see happen during a Time Trades green period is there's longer trends. We're moving out of the period of chop that tends to define purple and into a period where price tends to trend a little bit more, okay? So this just checked all the boxes in terms of a solid setup, and it turned into a very profitable trade, which was nice. All right, so let's go back into Time Trades here and take a look at what we're forecasting now on Sunday, December 19th for the coming week. So we can see how the forecasts have updated. The forecasts are refreshed every night, so they will change. There is a forecast, small probability of a pivot high, 15% on December 27th, and there's some continued small probabilities of up days here for the next week or so. So the move here on Pfizer is probably not over. It looks like we can continue to expect some bullish movement, but definitely be selective on your entries and wait for a pullback. It's likely we've seen the meat of the move so far. Okay, so that was the win of the week. Let's take a look at what we're seeing in terms of the indexes, starting with the Qs. And whenever I look at indexes, I like to look at all three of them before formulating an opinion here. So also, one of the things I like to do with when looking at any stock in Time Trades is, of course, first look at price. What is price behavior doing? Look at the context, see if I can find any patterns in terms of the Gann waves and that, and then finally look at the actual daily forecasts. So from a price standpoint, when we go and look at the Qs, let's just take a look at that right now. So here's QQQ, and I like to judge price just in terms of its location relative to the anchored VWAP. So this is a 30-minute chart of the NASDAQ. It's below all of the VWAPs. However, it has entered a squeeze. You can see the volatility from last week with the FOMC meeting news being digested. It pushed up through all these VWAPs in a very steep move, couldn't hold above the VWAPs and closed below it. So what do we think is going to happen now going forward, now that this volatility of this past week has been digested? So maybe what we can do here is zoom out for a little bit. Whenever things get super volatile and the charts start to look like an EKG of an unhealthy heart patient, I like to zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture. So what's happening in the Qs? Okay, so we've got our VWAPs here. This is a daily chart. And still, you can see we're below all 5 VWAPs. We're in a long-standing squeeze here using the Squeeze Pro indicator. But we are also entering the green period. And one of the patterns, one of the things that I like to look at here is what happens on the light gray days and what happens in between the light gray days. Okay, so light gray days for the last 4 months or so have tended to identify local highs. Okay, so here's 2 months maybe. This is November 8th. Okay, so local high here and then down into a local low. Local high here on November 22nd, down into a local low. Local high here on December 1st, down into a local low. There is no such high here on December 14th. Okay, so that's definitely not a local high. It's probably best described as a local low. I think we may be coming into a second local low here, either Monday or Tuesday on the NASDAQ to set us up for a bit of a Santa rally coming up into the end of the year. So that is kind of my personal opinion. That's not reflected in any of the time trades forecasts, but just by parsing the green periods and purple periods, as well as how these gray lines tend to behave, I have a feeling we might be coming into a bit of an inversion of the recent pattern. And I think we'll be seeing a local low here Monday or Tuesday in between the 2 gray lines. And then we could be coming up into a higher high. And I say inversion because this past gray line on December 14th, which was last Tuesday, instead of it being a local high, it ended up being what looks like a local low. So one of the things that I've noticed in inspecting these charts is that when there's a break in the pattern, it tends to change the cadence a little bit. And the prior pattern tends to break down and a new pattern tends to emerge. So this is why I'm thinking that a new pattern is going to emerge here. And it's possible that we could see local highs heading into the next couple of gray line periods on December 29th and on January 11th. And January 11th is turning into a pretty important date, as I'll show you right now. Okay, so here we are on the Qs. The actual daily forecast, you can see this little hollow area here where there's a reduction in down pressure, and there's also a forecast pivot high up here on January 4th of about 18%. Now, when things get a little ambiguous like this, I like to just focus in on the pivots, okay? Because the pivots tend to give the most reliable indicators. So we've got about an 18% pivot high on January 4th, and then we've got a very confident pivot low on January 18th, and that's right around a series of 2 standard deviation declines. And then we've got another pivot low February 15th and another pivot low on March 17th. So overall, not looking very bullish at all. In fact, this is what I would describe as a very bearish outlook over the next 3 months. So let's go and take a look at spiders and see if we can get some kind of confirmation from the other indexes. So when it comes to spiders, we can see we're again, it's bearish in the next 3 month period, even though we might see a little bit of a push up over Christmas. into this hollow here, but we've got pivot lows December 30th, January 19th, February 9th, and another big probability of a down day in February. So again, the spiders over the next 3 months, not looking very strong at all. And let's take a look at the Dow. The Dow is probably one of the cleaner charts. We've got a down day January 3rd and also pivot lows January 25th heading in, or sorry, down, also 2 standard deviation down days January 25th heading into a pivot low on February 3rd. So this is all adding up to a conclusion of maybe a high early in the new year, just to set up all of this down pressure that we're seeing across the board in all of the major indexes. Okay, so that's my bias and trading direction coming into the next couple of weeks. Certainly seasonally, we're in a period of a bullish period, as there's frequently Santa rallies at this time of year. Okay, so let's take a quick look at crypto now that we've covered the major stock indexes, and then we'll close out the video with a review of a few stocks and some interesting potential moves we see. So starting with Bitcoin, last week we said Bitcoin price has been stabilizing, and it looks like that that continues to hold true. Bitcoin is right around 46 right now. And we've got relatively strong probabilities of a pivot low coming up on December 20th and 21st, okay? So we're right in the heart of this Gann wave yellow period. Let's go and take a look at what happened on the last few times we were in the middle of a yellow period. So we got like maybe a 3-day push up here on November 25th, but that didn't last very long. Back in October, we got a push up into, well, about the middle of the subsequent black period, and then some consolidation, and then it pushed up into the all-time high around 68 in the following blue period. And then also yellow in September was a launch pad for a very nice big move here from about 40 to 48. So things are looking pretty solid for Bitcoin in the short term, even though there's no forecast up pressure here. One of the things that I tend to notice is that coming off of a pivot low, it can sometimes act as a trampoline, and it can sort of set up price, and price can bounce off into a higher area. I don't know exactly where it's going to land. I know I'm kind of waving my mouse around here, but this is where your price analysis is really important to set these targets. But in the short term, looking for a bullish push for Bitcoin, but in the medium term, we see this big cluster of down pressure starting in early January. And this is certainly not something to be ignored, as well as this major pivot low on March 4th. So short-term bullish, medium-term very, very bearish on Bitcoin. You know, certainly you can hold through this, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't be... Personally, I'm going to look to early March as an opportunity to add some positions here on crypto. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. One of the other cryptocurrencies that we looked at last week was ADA, and this has just been in the middle of a horrendous downtrend since September, from almost 3, and now we're back down to almost 1. Looks like this may be coming to an end. We've got some high probability up days coming up, December 20th and December 25th, complemented by some pivot highs. So maybe that'll turn into a bit of a recovery as hopefully ADA can push back up. After that, it's a pretty volatile forecast with lots of moves down and lots of moves up, probably more of a bias to the upside, just judging by the fact that we've got lots of two standard deviation up bars here, and only one standard deviation down bars here. So right now, I would say the ADA looks like a pretty good buying opportunity. Also, another reason why I say that is that I see lots of pivot highs here. So what that tells me is price is pushing up into a pivot. There's a pullback into a correction, and then a push up into another pivot. Again, time trades doesn't forecast price, it only forecasts time. But when you see this pattern of pivot highs happening one after another, it's a pretty solid uptrend. So that's ADA. Let's also take a look at RIOT, which I look at as basically a crypto, because it is a Bitcoin miner. And also we're seeing a up move pattern that reflects the short-term up move on Bitcoin here. So if you're looking for a short-term trade this week, RIOT might be a solid stock trade for you, given that what we're seeing in the forecast for both RIOT and Bitcoin. Medium to long term, though, again, it'll follow and track the Bitcoin price, and we've got a big pivot low here, February 14th. So it's not definitely not a buy and hold here on RIOT. Okay, so let's close out today's review with a few stocks that have caught my eye. Facebook has an interesting setup. If we can get through, Monday, I think this high probability pivot high here on Wednesday has the potential to drive price up quite a bit, even though there's not a lot of up pressure here. These pivot highs tend to act as magnets, and this could move, $10 to $20 a day quite easily. So that's Facebook. Also, on last week's video, we were looking at Tesla. We called out Tesla for a bullish move. We didn't get that bullish move last week, but let's zoom in here, and I'll explain why I'm still bullish on Tesla for this week. Tesla in general tends to like the yellow periods. We see moves up here into yellow. And we've got a couple of one standard deviation moves up here forecast for this week going into next week, December 27th. And also a feature that I've got turned on here is something I don't really use or haven't talked about much on the videos. This is the Gann date square of 9 feature. So what I'm doing here is I'm anchoring the 0 degree line on the recent all-time high. And what this draws is basically a 90-degree overlay on the square of 9. So the dashed blue lines are prices that are 90 degrees from this date on the square of 9. And I've explained a little bit about this in the user guide in time trades. If you'd like to check that out, you can just click on more and go to the user guide. But these do tend to indicate support and resistance levels. And you can see here how this dashed blue line right around 910 at 180 degrees, when price busted through there, that was a very significant move, and it moved up all the way to the next 90-degree line up here at 1210. So I'm counting on this Gann date square of 9 level at $910 to provide some support. And also we've got some one standard deviation up moves in the daily forecast here. So that's Tesla. And the last one I'm going to talk about is TLT. So we've been looking at bonds, and we made a bearish call last week on bonds based on the forecast. We got a little bit of a move down, but not too much. The volatility on Friday caused bonds to go back up, but the bearish setup is still in place for bonds. So if we zoom in a little bit here, we can see we still have a pivot low on December 28th. And we've got a few lower probability down days between now and then. So if stocks go up, then certainly we've got a chance to see bonds go down. They may make a lower low below this 148 level here as we get closer to December 28th. Okay, that's it for me. I hope you all had a great week trading. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you again next week. Bye now.